Montreal is the topic for this week's episode. Our good friend John McKenzie is back on the Multipod. John hosts the CuriosiTrips, which takes small groups of people to various places, largely in North America. In this case, in September in 2026, he is bringing a group of people to Montreal to come and explore the city. CuriosiTrips are a great way if you don't want quite the structure and the size and the formality of big group travel, especially with like 30, 40 or more people. But you don't want to travel alone. You like to share the experience with others and with like-minded people who don't necessarily want to do all the touristy kind of things, who like to be spontaneous, kind of follow their nose and pursue the things that they're interested in. And so the tours are structured that way so that there's some structure and there's a bit of itinerary, but also space to really go exploring and do some of the things that you like to do as well. So John and I did a live Q&A session a couple weeks ago. This is the replay, some of the highlights of that conversation. And it's not too late. If you'd like to come and join us in Montreal this September, then you're welcome to do so. We'd love to see you there. All the information, will be in our replay here and also in the description for the notes. So Montreal is a wonderful city for multi-potentialites. Hey, it's the birthplace of our founder, Emilie Wapnick. She was born in Montreal, and that might tell you all you need to know, that it's a great city for all kinds of interesting ideas and creativity, arts and culture. And of course, it makes a language and cultures as well, with French and English. So we'd love to see you there. Reach out to John in particular if you have any questions. And if you're ready to book, we'd love to see you in Montreal. Tell us again the dates when it starts.
Yeah, so the official dates are September 11th through the 13th. So it's a Friday through Sunday. And everyone is encouraged to get there on that Thursday, the 10th, just so that because we'll officially start early in the morning on the 11th so that we get our full 3 days in.
Yeah. Okay, good.
But yeah.
So, John, are you excited?
Yeah. Yes. I've been kind of getting back into it after my own travels and working on a bunch of stuff. Now it's like, it's getting closer. So I wanted to relook into a couple different things, having a couple different options as the people that have signed up know, and people who know me or know about CuriosiTrips a little bit probably are familiar with this. But for those of you who don't, the idea behind just the whole concept of a CuriosiTrip, it's not like a regular group tour. It's not a tour because that implies some sort of leader that's going to tell you all the history and lead you through a very meticulous schedule. And we don't want to do that because we want to be open to curiosity, hence the name CuriosiTrips.
Right.
But we've curated some places that kind of blend the local culture, the food. I mean, there's some touristy things, but we try to minimize that in favor for maybe the more off the beaten path or just more hidden gem type of things, and being open to explore. That's really my own personal travel philosophy, which got all of this started. Just because when I travel, I really like to explore neighborhoods and small cafes, and I like to go where the real life is. It's great to see the tourist attractions because, of course, there's a reason why they're popular. But when it comes to really getting a feel for the city and getting a sense of the culture, you can't beat the neighborhoods and then the off the beaten path type of places. So that is a focus. We also want to just be open to changing things up if we see something really interesting, or if we learn about, there's this random festival that's happening on this little side street that only happened, it may not have been publicized, or it may have been last minute, or for whatever reason. Just those are the kinds of things that we want to be open to. So we don't want to have at 9:00 we're doing this, and at 10:15 we're going to do this. And yes, I have an itinerary to kind of work through the day, and we want to have options in case there are, a variety of different things, rain or whatever. But we definitely want to be open to a lot. So that's the philosophy behind everything. And
Right.
Montreal
And of
is
course,
great for that.
yeah, that's true. Well, it really is. Yeah. And of course, you've done this before. You've done a few curiosity trips. So, can you tell us a little bit how that's played out in some of your previous trips? You've done 2 to Mexico City, right? A couple in Washington. So, do you have any quick stories of just how a trip unfolded? And some of that spontaneity.
Yeah, I mean, we did in Mexico City, which was the very first one, the first Mexico City. We had some neighborhoods picked out, so we did stick to those. But then
Hmm.
we ended up, just kind of flowing with the day, and stuck to a lot of neighborhoods. We had some free time too. That's another aspect of it, because I do want people to be able to have a chance to see some of the more popular things that we may not be covering on the trip.
Yeah.
So in Mexico City, we had a few moments where we had free time. So some people did. They had other plans. They went out and saw some other things, and then we reconvened at a particular time. So that worked
I
really
see.
well. And then for other people, if they
Yeah.
really don't have an agenda, they can hang out. Usually we'll say,
Hmm.
well, this is official free time, but if you guys want to come with us, we're going to go check out this place. So,
So, is there
yeah.
any part that's kind of it may be incumbent or encouraged of people chunks or periods of the weekend where they can organize something themselves? They can say, like, here's your free time, go find something to do.
Mhm.
Or is it the case that if you want to stay with the group and you're kind of leading the way, that's an option too?
Yes, exactly. So, really, and because this is only 3 days, we don't have quite as much free time as we did in Mexico City.
Yeah.
But I would say Sunday afternoon is probably the biggest amount of free time that people can, if they do want to go do something, that's probably the best opportunity to do it. But
Yeah.
I definitely have some things in mind that I
Good.
would like to do. If everybody wants to join, hey, that's great. There's no, and just to be clear too, nothing is required. I mean, if
Hmm.
you just want to go do your own thing, or if you're tired, or
Yeah.
any combination of things like that, you're definitely more than welcome to do that. But
Okay.
we do try to have group activities. Obviously, people, they've paid to have some things included, so we do want to have a
Right.
welcome dinner and a farewell dinner, and then we'll find a meal on the second day to kind of encapsulate. We don't want to set a time for that because,
Hmm.
especially on the second day, it will be more of a that will be the long, probably the walking through neighborhoods day. And
Yeah.
so we really want to take it slow. We may want to stop and graze throughout the
Yeah.
day. So we want to keep that kind of option to open for the vibe of the day. And yes, we will need for a group of our size, we already have 10 people. We will
Hmm.
need to make some reservations for the dinners, but we may also opt to have a midday meal kind of in a different fashion. But there's some
Right.
other places that are noteworthy that I would love to be able to stop at, but I think it just depends on kind of how the day's going and everyone's energy.
Sure. Yeah, for
So
sure. Yeah, I mean, the weather should be good. It's a great time of year to travel. It's not as hot as right now. We're baking here today. It's really hot humidity. Now, of course, when you come to Montreal and Canada in general, you're gonna have to use Celsius. So today it's like at least 30 degrees Celsius, and the humidex is going to be pushing 40. And 40
Fuck.
Celsius is like 100 some Fahrenheit. So that's over
Yeah.
my head, but yeah, it's no, that's right now. In September, it'll be nice. In September is kind of
Yeah.
days around 20 degrees or so. There's much less humidity, and yeah, it's much more comfortable. Let's talk about then just logistically what is included with
Mhm.
the price, was not included, and just kind
Mhm.
of frame it that for that. We've got the website here.
Yeah. So in this trip, we have included, as I mentioned, there's a welcome dinner, which will be on that Friday. There will be a farewell dinner on that Sunday, and then we'll have a meal, maybe a meal or two, or some pastries or something like that on the middle day, to be included. I'd like to save a couple surprises too. I'll just leave it at that.
Hmm.
is in terms of food and beverage. Public transportation, that will be included for when we're together as a group. And Ted and I were discussing what's available for Montreal. And actually, there's a couple good options for this group. They have a 3-day pass, so it's a 3-day event. So it should be perfect when we all meet up, either that Thursday night. If anyone's around, we are going to informally meet for dinner. If anybody's able to meet up, this is just a self-pay type of thing, but it's just, whoever's in town, let's get together and, talk about what we're going to be doing and everything. I'll hand out passes, but then really that Friday morning or Friday is when the transportation passes can start. But as you were looking, there is, to get from the airport, there is an airport bus that includes a 24-hour transportation pass. So if you come Thursday, you'll actually have that pass for, I guess, the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then
from when you activate it.
From when you activate it. And so with the pass that I'll provide, if you leave on Monday or if you stay, you'll have, an extra day basically of transportation. But 3-day transportation pass. If we do have, we'll try not to go to too many museums. I feel like it's really hard to go to museums because people have varying interests and varying levels of museum tolerance is what I'll call it. I know I'm included in that. I love museums. I love learning, but there's a limit, and I don't want to subject everyone to something that they may not all be completely interested in. But we will have a couple of things like that will be included. Obviously, we have already got a WhatsApp group that is robust. I would like to, once we start coordinating, I think a lot of people have already got their tickets, and we've been coordinating some logistics with lodging and that sort of thing. So that's those are the things that are included in this.
Right. Although, of course, point out that accommodation's not included, and of course airfare, and certainly some of the meals and beverages, stuff like that.
So and I should probably mention that because a lot of trips or tours do include accommodation, but in this particular case, because one of the things that I've noticed is people have varying types of budgets. And so, and we also know people that use points and miles to, to stay for free in, a nicer hotel, and then others want to stay in a hostel or whatever. We just try to coordinate an area or recommendation of areas to stay in so that we can either come together and meet at a central place, or just, it's easy enough to get to a central place. But there's no particular limits in that, but I like to have that flexibility for a city-based CuriosiTrip because it does give people, they have more control over the budget of what they choose to spend on lodging.
Yep. Right. So that's part of the benefit of the WhatsApp group, and everyone who signed up has already been doing this and starting to chat and making some plans. Is that we can try to coordinate and John in particular kind of steer you towards maybe certain parts of the city when hopefully we can try to stay as close together as possible, or of course people sharing an Airbnb between 2 or 4 people, whatever it is. So let's talk a bit about just when people should arrive then. I mean, if the idea is the kind of a more formal itinerary starts the Friday, I mean, people really should be in town on the Thursday if they can. If they can only make it on Friday, then that's the way it goes. But at least to try to be in on Thursday, and then same thing, I guess, if they need to head back on Sunday at some point, then that's the way it is. Or otherwise, probably the ideal is to arrive Thursday and to head out on Monday, unless you want to stay longer.
I really encourage people to, of course, I always encourage people to come early, stay late, because there's a lot more in Montreal and the whole area to see than what we'll be able to cover in just 3 days. So if you've never been to Montreal, it's a great idea to stay a little longer, come a little early, or stay a few days later. There's also Quebec City that's not too terribly far away. I would love to have done a big road trip to come up there from DC, but it was a little bit time consuming, and of course with the cost of gas these days. But I've never been to Ottawa, so that's another place that's it's not horribly far away. It's accessible.
Roughly an hour and a half drive. Yeah,
and so there's plenty of things to see and do, and just honestly, again, one of my favorite things is just soaking up the local neighborhoods and the vibe, and the food. Food and drink, that's a big one. So, but yes, if I would say the biggest thing is just come Thursday at the latest, just so that you're able to kind of settle in and be ready, because we don't want to. We want to start relatively early on Friday so that we can make the most of our day. And
so
then
you do have a sample itinerary here on the page.
Yes.
And again, and the whole point is that this could change, and that's the point, is being spontaneous. But do you want to go through it a bit and just kind of the general outline, the idea?
And these, and I did put sample itinerary because there's any number of factors that could cause this to change. But I did want to have a rough idea of kind of what we would be doing. Maybe the order within the day, or even the order that we do by day, might change. But I would say our initial plan is to meet up around 9:00. Let's say 9:00. We'll meet up around the McGill University area, and I don't know if people maybe aren't that familiar with it, but McGill University is one of the most well-known universities in Canada. I think it would be interesting to explore that, and the benefit of that is it's right next to the entrance, or the stairway up to Mount Royal, which is, of course, the namesake of Montreal. Montreal is Mount Royal. We won't go all the way up, but there is an overlook that's not too terribly strenuous to get up there. And
I'll bring up my map here.
We'll set, so there's a few steps. There's then you get to a level where there's like a sidewalk, or a curved going upwards, but it will provide a great view, and I always like to see the city from its highest point, and this may not necessarily be its highest point, but it's definitely a good intro to get like a grand view of the city. And then we can kind of go down. The other things that day would be St. Helens Island. That is,
it's over here.
You can see on the map there. So there's a number of interesting landmarks there, and I think after we'll go from Mount Royal to there by public transportation. We'll have to walk back down to the metro, and then we can switch over to get to the island. And then we'll end our day probably in the old Montreal, or Vieux Montreal.
That's right.
And yes, that is probably the most touristy part of what we'll be doing. But you can't go to Montreal and not go to Old Montreal. It's just
it's beautiful. Yeah.
And there's a lot to see. I should probably just let people know it's been a very long time since I've been to Montreal, so this is almost like going back. Yeah, I believe it may have been 2002 or 3. So pre-smartphone, pre a lot of things. Yeah. But I think one thing that really that still stands out for me is that, especially being on the East Coast, but really anywhere in the U.S., it's Canada. It's right there. It's not far away, but yet when you go there, you're like, am I in Europe? But I'm not. But it really feels different, and yet it's also
At least old
familiar
Montreal does, yeah.
enough. Yes, there'll be French. Luckily, we'll have some French speakers because mon français
C'est la chance
n'est
de
pas bien.
pratiquer. Let's talk about that for a second, because people often wonder, well, do I have to speak French? Do people speak much English? In Montreal, in the touristy parts, it's very, very big tourist economy, right? And anyone you talk to in Vieux-Montréal or Centreville, anything like that, they'll speak English. Buying a metro tickets or ordering at restaurants, they'll speak English. If you were to go further out of the central core, at least kind of the east, northeast, then it really it's very francophone. It's very much majority francophone. People could probably get by in English by and large. Everybody has their own story, right? But it would be much less common, and it'd be kind of more expected to speak, certainly to initiate in French. You should always say, hello, bonjour, comment ça va, kind of thing, just, as a polite greeting. But then you can continue in English. But so there's very much pockets of language. The western part of the island, I should bring up my map here again, is known as is more the English part. So when you come out to this part here, a lot of people, their first language is English, or even a third language. There's a lot of immigrants, of course, come in from different parts, and whatever their language might be. And then the more French areas, like really predominantly French, where you wouldn't hear much, if any, English would be out. I mean, most of the city, really, this part here, most of Laval, it's really just downtown. That's the touristy part. That's where you can certainly, not worry about speaking English. That's fine. It's always nice to practice your French, though, and share what you know. They appreciate it.
Oui.
Yeah.
And yeah, you mentioned something that, I don't know if a lot of people realize that Montreal is actually on an island. It's a big island. And of course, there's a bunch of other islands in the area, that one of which we just mentioned, St. Helens, that we'll be going to. But Montreal is an island in the St. Lawrence River. So, you won't feel like you're on an island, but it's technically an island. So
now here's a geography for you. I don't know. Are you aware of this? So when you're in Montreal, all the street signs and the direction signs in general, the metro, whatever it is, if you're, say, downtown here and you're saying, say, take the orange line, it'll say, and you're going out this way, out towards like Laval and Place Belle and stuff. If you're heading this way, the signs will say you're heading north. But of course, if you look on the map and the rows of the compass and stuff, it's far, far more west. It's almost like due west, a little bit west, northwest, right? But everybody thinks, and you'll feel it when you're there, you're downtown, because you're looking up at the mountain, you see the mountain, there's a cross in the mountain and stuff like that gives you a direction, and you think that you're looking north. You're really looking west, but everybody orients themselves that way. So it's a peculiar little thing about Montreal in terms of geography.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Well, hopefully we'll get a real feel for that when we go up on Mount Royal and check that out. But so back to the itinerary on the first day. So we'll end our day probably in the old town, and we'll have an opportunity to have dinner there. I've got a bunch of different options that I've been looking at, but yeah, we'll kind of pin that down a little as it gets a little closer.
Mm-hmm.
Day 2, this is the Murals and Neighborhoods Day. So I thought we could start at Jean Talon Market, and that is kind of at the far end of Saint Laurent. Please forgive my terrible pronunciation.
Okay.
I mean, it's in that area, so we'll kind of start there, and then we'll be walking our way south, Montreal south.
That's right. Yeah, really, yeah.
Towards the old town again, but down Saint Laurent. And the beauty of that is that area is just jam packed with all sorts of little murals and shops and cafes, and there's a couple really interesting places that I hope we can time just right so that we won't have to wait in a long line to go get some bagels, for example.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then, like just kind of where you are, you can see the purple dots, the monument. If we can glance down that street, maybe even we'll walk to it. There's a big monument.
There's a nice view here.
That leads back up to Mount Royal. So there's just a lot of hidden or interesting murals, and that's what it's known for. So we'll end up exploring that, kind of taking our time. And that's an opportunity too, where if people feel like, they're not as interested in murals or they want to go see something else, that they can go, you can do that. We can meet up again later. And that's the beauty of the WhatsApp, because we clearly will be doing a lot of pivoting and on the spot decisions and changes. So any communication will be going through WhatsApp to say, okay, we're going to go here, or this is where we are if anybody's not with us. But we'll plan to head towards San Luis Square at the end, and this is where I kept the evening schedule kind of free, because after that might be a bit of a long day for people after the first full day of doing a lot and then walking all day on the second. So again, if we want to go out to dinner, we can do that as informally, as an unofficial, just whoever's available or interested. But if you're just like, I'm ready to crash and I'm not that hungry because maybe we've been eating a lot during the day, then you can go check out. And there's also, I'm not necessarily planning to do big nightlife stuff. I'm not a super late night person anymore. There was a time, but of course Montreal does have a lot to offer there, and it would be a Saturday night. So completely fine. And
there should be a show sometime.
It may happen. I've been known to stay up occasionally.
He says he's going to bed early now, but we'll see.
I mean, hey, given the right, this is my own personal philosophy. When I'm at home, and under a normal situation, I try to get to bed, or between like around 10. But when I'm out, if the situation is right and the vibe is right and everything is there, I'm probably not going to just. I don't have that kind of willpower to just say, okay, it's 10, I'm going to leave. If it's fun, I'm going to stay. So anyway, but I also don't, I want to respect everyone's ability to rest and monitor them.
The obligation isn't there, the pressure. Yeah.
So that's flexible, but we will have some sort of, I want to say lunch during the day, but I also could see it being like maybe a couple different things, depending on how it goes. So good. And then
that's Saturday, and then Sunday. That's
Saturday.
Day 3.
Yep, day 3. So day 3 is right now. I just think it's really interesting, especially growing up. As a kid, probably the first Olympics I ever heard of was the one in Montreal, because it was 1976.
Yep.
I was born early in the 70s, so I would have been like somewhat conscious age, and I probably saw it on TV. So the whole idea of going to the Olympic Stadium, kind of checking that out. I've been to some other Olympic stadiums in other cities, just as a kind of a hobby to go to some offbeat places. But here, there's actually a huge botanical garden next to it. So that provides a couple opportunities. But it also depends, maybe that's something that is, let's just say we have other options.
Okay.
That's one. There's also, that could be the option that we do in the afternoon when there's official free time, and maybe we'll choose to go to the other side of the city to maybe see some of the Lachine Canal. That's an option. There's some really interesting buildings. There's the Farine Five Roses building. There's also the Maison Rose. Pink house. Is that still there?
I think so. That's a good point. I should
don't
look that up. I
think
think
it's something that you can actually go into, but it's this random house that's on top of a building. It's just a funky thing. There's a metro station that has really interesting
There it is.
architecture and colors. So yeah, there's
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
So those are some other options. There's also some more neighborhoods. There's Griffintown, Verdun. Just
Verdun,
was
yeah.
looking on the map. There's another island there.
Hmm.
There are just so many other options. So I'm kind of like I kind of keep that a little bit open until we get slightly closer, so that I can monitor. Weather
Sure.
is going to be a
Yeah, that's the
factor.
thing. Yeah.
We also have some backup plans for if it's for some reason it's rainy. We don't want to spend all of our time outside,
Hmm.
but we'll be in touch closer to there. But I would say if there's rain in the forecast, bring an umbrella because we will have to go outside at some point. So, but there's an underground city
That's
uh,
right.
in downtown that might be interesting to check out. There's a couple quirky. Um, I've mentioned murals, but there's some statues. There's a photo studio called Saint. Is it Saint Motel or is that just a hotel? I looked it up. It's
Hmm.
on my map of some just interesting and quirky places.
Yeah.
There's some other places that are a little bit further away. Don't think we're going to be able to take the time to go, but like the Orange Julius stand
All
that's
right.
in the
It's doable. It's a bit of a,
yeah
if we had time, we'd certainly need time. But
yeah
it is actually quite accessible. It's out here. It's not far from a metro stop, and mostly people know it because they drive past it on the
yeah
autoroute all the time. But they just got to have a picture of it here. There it is.
yeah. I mean, if you want to go
Yeah.
out of your way to do this, is the kind of stuff that I would do if I had a lot more time.
Yeah.
But you never know. We
Yeah.
don't want to rule too many things out because we do want to be open to the quirkiness and the fun things. And the other aspect of all of this is we're going to be together as a group, and the group
Yeah.
energy really um, really does make kind of a direction of what we want to do. Um, as you were showing that, I just thought, well, there's also other stuff on Mount Royal that we could go to on the
Well,
other
that's a good
side.
point. Yeah.
St.
There's lots to
Joseph's
see.
oratory, right? That's
Yeah, it's impressive. It's the biggest church in Canada. It's the third biggest dome in the world. I'll pull it up here. I'm pretty sure you can go in, but yeah, it's just it's a beautiful site, and it's kind of on the backside of the mountain.
yeah. So
Yeah,
uh, that could be an option too. So we may even have a little game of voting or picking out
yeah,
of a hat or something like because there are a lot of different options, and so trying to kind of craft a unique itinerary that's not just going to be your typical stops on one of those hop on hop off bus type of situations.
mm,
We wanted it to be a little bit different, but there's plenty of places also to just soak up the atmosphere.
yeah.
And I know that uh, that's a harder point to kind of sell for people to just like you don't want to go all this way and then just sit down, uh, but that's
Kind of
also
though.
you kind of do in some
Yeah.
places. Like you do want to observe
And Montreal is
what's
such a
going
great
on,
place to do
and
that. They got the sidewalk cafes and the cafe culture, right? And squares. I mean, it does feel a lot like Paris and European French cities with a modern twist, with a North American feel to it as well. And always the English and French, side by side. And yeah, it's definitely unique. It's pretty distinct.
well, speaking of that, can you talk as a local? Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the maybe the unique food and drink
Oh,
that we
yeah.
might be experiencing there? I know poutine is probably the
Yeah, poutine, yeah.
most well known, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and these days, poutine has like, expanded to all kinds of different recipes. So when you go to a typical place, it's not just like fries, gravy, and cheese curds. There's anything. They throw smoked meat on it, or sausages, or hot dogs, or whatever else. There's all kinds of combinations. So obviously, you can, get whatever's appealing. I don't have poutine all that much. It's not the healthiest thing, but it is tasty. I would just get the regular one because that's kind of the classic thing. And the whole secret to it is having the fresh cheese curds because they're the squeaky kind, right? And they're really fresh within like at the most 24 hours. And that's what really gives it that it's a texture thing as much as anything. It all kind of melts together. It's one of those things that sounds kind of weird and maybe even gross, but once you taste it, you see why people like it. So you can get poutine anywhere. There's touristy places that are kind of famous for it, but everyone has it, and they all do it well. It's hard to find really a bad poutine unless you're really looking for a bad one. So most restaurants they'll do a good job. And then the other thing is smoked meat. Same thing. There's kind of some touristy places and a couple, I think, kind of local chain restaurants that offer and are famous for it. But everyone has a similar recipe, I guess, and like you pretty much can't go wrong. Like Montreal smoked meat is another one of those famous things, and the Montreal bagels too. Often you can get it all together at the same place. So I mean, those are kind of the famous touristy stereotypical things. I mean, aside from that, I guess it's really just it's a multicultural city and lots of influences. So there's different kinds of cuisine and kind of original restaurants. There might be a blend of who knows, Thai and Indian or something like that, or a bit of a local twist on stuff. So that's what's fun about your trips, right? And we have the chance to do this is just follow our nose, see what we find. You'll get to neighborhoods like the Plateau we were looking at earlier, which is on the way to the St. Louis Square. And the Plateau is probably the most kind of trendy place in Montreal. It's not just touristy. I mean, it's very much locals. People go, live their lives, go about their business there. But that's part of what makes it that charm because you have very much like local cafes and restaurants that people, frequent all the time, not just the tourists. So it's fun to do that. And the point is in a group like this, if people have different interests and tastes and we don't want necessarily all eat together, you can find stuff that's close together within like a block or two, probably a few minutes walk, right? And we can do that without separating out into big distances. So yeah, I mean, aside from that, I mean, that's true. Vegetarians, good question. I mean, I'm not directly on top of what's the top restaurants and stuff like that, but by nature of being a big city, population wise, and lots of tourists, I'm sure we'll get, good options for vegetarian options. It's certainly a type of place where you'll find that. It's not like a heavy meat only culture by any means. So.
Well, I remember looking up a couple of things, and of course, being Canada, maple syrup or maple infused things are popular. So I need to just mention bagels. That's another thing. They have kind of their own version of bagels, and I'm sure we can find, those can easily be vegetarian. But I know that there are so many different options there. Probably, and this is part of what we're going to discover, right? Like what might be something that we don't even think about. I mean, if I were to be, I don't know, sometimes I don't even remember what's kind of local or regional where I'm living because I've been here so long.
Well, if people want to do the research, I mean, basically everyone who's coming, you've booked your trip. And you're coming, now that's the fun part where you can start doing some research of whether it's places to see or restaurants, interesting restaurants, cafes and things, food you want to try, and then see where we can find it. But if people do that research, can they bring it to the WhatsApp group? We'll share some ideas and maybe start formulating a bit of an itinerary there. I don't want to step too much on your toes though, because of course you do have some plans.
Yeah. No, I mean, as far as eating, I mean, I really want to try the local as local as possible. I mean, we may. I feel like we're going to be in enough unique neighborhoods with lots of options that we won't need to try. We won't need to go to a chain of any kind.
Yeah.
If we did, I would say the only one that I would consider would be Tim Hortons, but just because. But I don't think so. I don't think it's necessary because there's a lot of options.
That's right.
But yeah, no, certainly if anybody has something very specific, whether it's food or a thing that they want to see or do,
Mhm.
bring it up, and we'll see if we can fit it in, or we'll see if it makes sense, or kind of where it might fit, if it's something that's very unique or specific to you that maybe wouldn't necessarily interest a group. Then we'll see if we can kind of fit that in a day that and a time that you won't feel like you're missing out. I can't promise all of that, but I can definitely try to maximize what we fit together. And yeah, I mean, when I usually travel, I do a lot of research. A lot of it is just Google, to be honest with you.
Yeah, sure.
You have to kind of look at the highs and lows. And I've definitely been to some that weren't as good as the Google made it seem. And I've been to some lower rated places that were amazing. And so I try to balance that with, like, is it at least above a 4? And then look at the neighborhood and look at the menu and that sort of thing. So I think we will have a few more limited options in terms of dinners, because we have a larger group. But when it comes to, especially on day 2, we'll have a lot more flexibility in what we eat and where we eat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind trying a maple cocktail, just because that seems very Montreal. And I personally like beer, so I know maybe having a local beer would be good too. But
step ahead of you.
I am
Les microbrasseries de Montréal. There are lots.
But I know not everybody drinks alcohol or necessarily would want to, but I try to have there you go. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to just pick places, and sometimes, as we discovered in Mexico City, we situationally where we were, we passed by a place that looked really interesting on the outside. It looked fun. We went in, and it was an experience. We all got the wrong drinks, and it was just weird. And then some locals we were talking to some locals, and like, oh, what brought you here? And we're like, oh, we just saw it, but they seemed to be mixing up our orders, and the local people were like, yeah, this place sucks, but we still like to go. So it was one of those. Well, it was certainly memorable, but I don't know if we would go back. But once in a while that happens, but it also, you just have to chalk it up to travel. I really try to avoid places like that. I want to go to a place that at least I feel like we're going to have a good experience and we're going to have good service. But once in a while things happen, and that's the other part of these trips for me, is like, this is I don't know more. I'm not claiming to know more than other people. We're all kind of peers, even though maybe I've traveled a bit more or whatever. But I just want to dive into the experience and the moment, and have flexibility, but knowing we will have to make a couple plans and a couple
that's fair.
plans with the group size, really mainly for the group size, and also just managing people and making sure that we're all kind of still doing okay, and
sure.
and weather and all of that. But yeah, we'll definitely find some good places, especially on that street. I'm really excited about that. I don't know, I think the challenge is just going to be stomach room, as usually is the case for me. I don't have enough room to eat all the things that I want and see. So
yeah, to be fair too, I mean, I've never lived in Montreal. I've only ever been a tourist. I mean, where we live here is roughly an hour and a half drive to downtown. I mean, we go in, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a year maybe, but when even then it's usually just brief. So whenever I go to Montreal, I feel like a tourist too. I'm exploring and finding new things, learning more about the city. So yeah, it's I'm excited for that too.
Well,
let's talk. Well, I was here. We got maybe 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Is there a limit then to the number of people who can come? Is there a group size limit?
I mean, I am kind of monitoring the size. I think I don't want to turn anyone away, but I also think, there's kind of a point at which it just becomes too many people. So right now we're at a really good place with 10 people.
Hmm.
Um, I think we'll probably have room for, maybe two to 2 to 5 more, maybe
Sure.
max. I don't want to be, I don't want to say a specific number because, like I said, maybe there'll be a couple or, some
Yeah.
people that want to come. I know there's some people that are trying to get some friends and other people to come, um, but yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's the sweet spot to just I would like a few more people. I think it's the kind of city that has the right energy for, a little bit larger group. But again, I don't want it to be a huge group because that's
Yeah.
not, we want to be able to actually have community. And right now,
Yeah,
I think
that's
we all
true.
know each other who are coming to the trip. So,
Mm.
but at the same time, each time we get together, it's always a good opportunity to learn more about each other and to deepen our relationships. And then for people to
Yeah.
learn more, because I don't know if everybody knows each other as well.
Right.
So that happened for sure in Mexico City one, where I think
Hmm.
everyone who was there had gone to Camp Indy, where a lot of us
Hmm.
met originally, but they didn't go to the same one. So some people didn't know each
Yeah, of
other
course.
because they hadn't gone to that one. So then they were able to meet. And that's
Yeah.
really a part that I really want to foster is that
Yeah, it's
I
nice
kind
being
of,
able to facilitate that.
yeah. And especially since there was no Camp Indie this year.
Right,
So
right.
this is like another opportunity to have a bit of our own version of it. So,
Yeah.
and that I will say that was a part of the inspiration for starting CuriosiTrips is like looking at the community that was created with Camp Indie and other communities,
Hmm.
like the Pettyverse and other
Yeah.
communities that bring people together. I was like, I really want that because I want people to embrace that curiosity like I do, and I think people have it. We just as adults
Hmm.
we lose a lot of it, and we forget that we have the ability to open up to so many different things, and that is what I would love to share more of,
Hmm.
and also just a different perspective on how I would travel to another
Yeah.
city. Everyone has some things to offer. There's people that I mean, I'm sure there's been a few people that have already been to Montreal, probably
Sure.
more recently than I have, and so again, I don't profess to know everything there is to know about Montreal. I probably couldn't tell you a good history of it, but that's partly why we're going. We're
Yeah.
going to live the history by visiting these various places. There'll be historical monuments and plaques, and
Hmm.
history is a lot. There's a lot of detail in history, but if you get pieces and parts of it through experiencing it, for me, that's kind of how I connect with a city or with a
Cool.
place in general.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
so, yeah.
Well,
Um,
I can think I've said before that I feel you've hit a sweet spot with these trips because, they're for people that obviously don't want to do some big group trip of 40, 50 people, and they don't want to have some strict itinerary where you go here and you go here and you go here and you got to follow that and there's no choice, right? You have to. But they don't necessarily want to go by themselves. They don't want to have to
yeah.
organize everything themselves. And even if they can, and, they want to share the experience with someone else. So it's that blend of a bit of flexibility and spontaneity. And
Yeah.
even when it comes to the price, right? I mean, there's the price for the activities and the base price, but then, yeah, beyond that, people have the flexibility to stay however long they want, stay where they want, and how they want, all that kind of stuff. So for our, I guess, types of travelers, the people who come on these trips are kind of our broader communities. I mean, it really taps into, I think, a lot of our interests and priorities when it comes to travel that yeah, we're used to. I think most of us are used to, travel independently, organize ourselves, doing things on our own, maybe with as a couple or something. It's nice to be able to take that and then share it with a great group of people. So that's what's really fun about it.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and if you don't have the travel experience, that's okay too, because you'll be
Sure.
around people that know, how to navigate it, and you'll learn. And that's, we had a couple people on some of the other trips that maybe didn't have quite as much familiarity with, solo travel or the type of travel that we were doing. But it's really just, I'm here to show you that it's possible. If somebody from a small town in Kansas can navigate going around to these different places and then getting more familiar with it, and letting, for me, it's curiosity. I know, I go to a lot of places that most people would either never heard of or consider dangerous, but I don't expect everyone to do that, right? But I think that has given me a lot of other insights that help me go to places that are, more popular or more known. And Montreal, the good thing about that, especially right now, it's close. And because it's closer, it's not as,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to deal with going over, the flight prices
Yeah, it's not overseas, and
are a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah.
There are a lot more factors that just feel a little bit more comfortable right now at this time when there's just so much global chaos going on. So, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the trip plays out. And that's the fun part. It's like, yeah, we can plan. I could, even if I had an hour by hour itinerary, I can guarantee you that is not how it works in any case. And, I don't want to tear people away from something that, they're interested in. And
that's cool.
I also think, we if we're not interested in something, then we can leave. We're not obligated to stay and see anything.
Sure.
So if it's like, okay, well, this is cool, but I'm ready to go see something else, so we could do that. But I think we won't have that problem in Montreal.
That'd be great. Okay, well, last couple, I don't know, practical questions. So when is the last date that people can sign up?
So I really, again, try to make that flexible, but I would say August 31st is a good date for that, because that will give us enough time to, make the arrangements for our meals and flights. I mean, if you don't have your travel arrangements by the, within a couple of weeks, that's kind of pushing. I know there's people that do that, but it is, it is
accommodation too.
It is, because it is still a good season to go to Montreal. There will be probably more people who go, and maybe not as many accommodations to choose from, or more expensive accommodations. So I think August 31st is a good target date for that. And so
when people book, do they pay in total and full, or do you take deposits?
I mean, right now, the way the website is set up, it's just, book now. It's a single payment button that goes through Stripe.
Okay.
If for some reason anyone is, concerned about that, or just, I would say just reach out to me directly. And I don't want that to be a barrier for people to come if they're, if they know they can make it. That might be a single payment to make it difficult. I don't want it to make it difficult. So, but yeah, that's just to have the ease of having a website with one stop shop, because of the way it's set up. It just made more sense to do it that way. So yeah.
Okay. And what's the price of the trip right now?
Well, the actual deadline for the early bird was technically yesterday, the 30th. By the time anybody sees the replay, it will be $7.95. And then August 31st, we'll probably be closing it up. So
yep. And here's another incentive. Now, as Canadians, we are existentially aware of the exchange rate between the Canadian dollar and the US dollar, which always just slams us. So the inverse is great for you guys, because I'm just checking right now, and it's gone down. The US dollar is now $1.42 Canadian, which in opposite terms, $1 Canadian is 70 cents US. So in the last little while, it's been more like 73, 74 cents. So now it's down to 70 cents. Well, if it goes lower than that, that makes us expensive for us, but it's great for you. So really, that really does make a difference because, you're buying something that's, say an average meal, I guess, a main dish would be, $20 or something at a restaurant, Canadian. And then what's that in US dollars? Like when you're paying with a credit card, it's more like $15, $16, maybe less than that. So something to keep in mind. It really does add up in a good way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And of course, sorry for on your side, but hopefully we'll
I'm happy now because I get paid in US dollars. Finally, for the most part.
Well, hopefully we'll be helping stimulate the economy a little bit. So
yeah, sure. I'm just excited. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody again in person and showing you around what's kind of my backyard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is going to be great. I've seen all the comments, and I'm really excited to see everybody. And I'm feeling the energy through the comments too to get us all together. And yeah, we're gonna have a great time. Mm-hmm. I can already tell. So, certainly if anybody has questions, thinks of stuff later, we're always available in all the places.
Yeah, that was my last thing is how can people reach you, and whether it's for trip planning, logistics, maybe info about where to stay or what are people doing. How can they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that signed up, of course, the WhatsApp group, is the best. And then if you want to reach me outside of that, my email is curious@johnthetraveler.com. That's 1L, John the Traveler. And, I can also be reached on Facebook or Instagram at John the Curious Traveler.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are probably the best ways to reach me right now. And if there's any, I do have a newsletter. I think most of you are subscribed. So
your newsletter is
friend,
great.
Thanks. If you have a friend that you're maybe interested, forward them the newsletter. Or I actually just learned I could do a URL of the newsletter. I don't really like to do that too much because I want people to subscribe. So,
right.
But you can forward it to them, and if you're on the newsletter, then you find out more about all the other things, like the next CuriosiTrips.
Yeah, that's true. So it's just johnthetraveler.com, right? And then they'll see a subscription button, all that.
Yeah, it should pop up after, but you can sign up there's a newsletter section. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope we get a few more people just to round it up. But I think we have a great group already. So if we got questions, just let me know. If you have suggestions, or if you have this might be interesting, can we do this, or I might want to do it, don't feel shy. Don't feel like, I don't want to. Just if you see a random post about something online or whatever that has to do with Montreal or Quebec, or I guess even Canada, just put it in the WhatsApp group or send it my way. We like to share stories and things like that too. I know the Orange Julius place that you mentioned was featured in Atlas Obscura's newsletter. So it's just fun to share those kinds of things. It gets us excited, and then after the fact, we can, if we ever hear about things, then it's like, oh yeah, I know that, even if we didn't go. Right.
Nice. Good.
Well, thanks everyone for joining. I know this has run a little bit long, but we can talk about travel all the time. So
yeah, it's been fun. So I'll see you in a couple months.
Yeah, sounds great. All right, thanks everyone. All right. See you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
So again, the information is in the notes here for the episode, or you can visit johnthetraveler.com, and he's got a dedicated page for the Montreal CuriosiTrip. Again, it's September 11th through 13th. If you can join us a bit earlier, say arriving on September 10th, maybe flying out on the 13th, on the 14th, I should say, that would make it a little bit easier. But any time that you have, if you can join us, part of the reason, why we've done this trip is that it's a fairly easy hop from most places where you are in North America to hop over to Montreal. It's a very, very well connected city. So that's part of the appeal, you get that it's a foreign country for all of our American friends, And different cultures, of course. You get the French influence, and you feel like, at least parts of the city, you feel like you're in Europe. It's a very European feel, but you don't have to go all the way to Europe to do so. So it's part of the appeal is that it's very easy to get to. And as I say, I'd love to see you there. If you're wondering where I am right now, John, you should do another Curiosity trip out here to the west coast of British Columbia. I am on Vancouver Island, on the west coast of Vancouver Island, about an hour up the coast, the northwest of Victoria, the capital city. The nearest town is called Souk, and I've been at a family reunion here at a beautiful spot, as you can tell, here on the ocean, looking over, in fact, at the United States. That is the Olympic Mountains and the Olympic Peninsula you see behind me there, across the Salish Sea, is part of the Strait of Georgia. So yeah, beautiful place. And hey, absolutely, John, if you want to bring some people out here to Vancouver and or Victoria, there's lots to explore as well. So anyway, that's a topic for another day, but thanks for joining us here. We'll be back with a new episode of the Multipod soon. Hope everyone's having a great summer, and we'll talk more soon.